Gonna give things a minute or two for more folks to join, and then we'll get started.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hey.
I'll give it another minute or so here before we get started. Folks are still joining. All right, we are a minute or two past the top of the hour. I want to go ahead and get started. I am Tim Pepper, your 112 release lead. This meeting is being recorded. I will be posting it to YouTube right after the meeting, so please behave accordingly in accordance with our code of conduct and all of that good stuff. The link for today's agenda I will paste into the Zoom. So the main thing today, we have a request from comms today, tomorrow, to make a call on whether we're going to delay the release. Things are looking up a little bit compared to Friday, but at the same time, we were largely waiting today for some scalability results that we don't have because tests failed due to a new and different issue. So that has me pretty much thinking I will be announcing a delay, but I'm still slightly on the fence because things are improving. So let's go through the agenda. I think we should go ahead and cut RC tomorrow. Still, we are making progress. With that cut, that enables cluster lifecycle to make a change around kubeadm, which is good progress to have rolling along. Aside from that, we basically have the CI signal to worry about right now. So the list of things in the agenda there, scalability, we have a new issue, 68735, that just came up. Got word from the scalability folks, but they're mostly in Poland, so time zone that's basically done for the day. So I'm not expecting to see anything change there. Quinn has a comment.
That is, I believe, that issue that followed up all the core DNS stuff. That's done now, and this is the follow-up issue to why the scalability tests are still failing.
Yeah, this one, it's so unable to get full preferred group version resource. That's a pretty new, different symptom.
Wait,
So
I'm sorry, I might be talking about something else then.
I'll paste link 68735. So this one just got opened 5 hours ago.
Yeah,
This is after the
one.
kubedns changes
Yes.
went in.
Yes, but there's a comment somewhere that it basically is a follow-up to the scalability tests failing. I marked it. Let's see. Yeah, there's a reference in there from one of the core DNS issues. Yeah. Okay, from the core DNS pods crashing. I'll link the comment. 1 second. Here we are. Wait. Okay, right. That's the one. I'll paste it in the chat. Sorry for being a mouse clicks are hard. Here, there we are.
Yeah.
This is from the this is the real update. Quote from the core DNS pods crashing in large cluster performance tests 68613, and the comment says. Basically, the tests are still failing, but not due to core DNS anymore. And Wojtek filed the follow-up issue for a different problem. But what I'm saying is this is presumed to be the current reason for why scalability tests.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And then
I'm not saying they're technically related. I'm just
Yep.
saying, like,
Totally.
it's starting where, like, it's starting to feel like people are zoning in on a solution.
Hopefully.
I mean, you never know.
Yeah, and then just with the time zone skew, unless there's so I mean they pinged SIG API machinery bugs, Liget pinged Solly. Solly is in Europe and has just gone to sleep totally jet lagged. So I'm not feeling super confident during our today Monday we're gonna get movement on this one to understand whether it's a root cause, final root cause, latest in the series of debugging. So I think if nothing else, that means we can't make a go call until at least tomorrow, which I think by the end of today. So here's my thinking. So if this is the only one at the end of today, I'm willing to not announce a delay because we're getting close and is down to the last one. So maybe that's reason to go on to the others because the list of other issues is looking better. So there is a new issue around entry volumes. The storage folks have, so I opened 68744 this morning. The storage folks have triaged it to having started failing right around a particular recent storage PR that was fixing something else, so we may have a regression, but we at least have their focus on it today, starting early in the day, so we may get to the bottom of it yet today. And the next one also then, the horizontal pod autoscaler issue, 68383. Solly believes it's fixed. He's got everything pending. If we get the last PR there in, we could have test results today. So those two things, if they're going green, that gives me a lot more confidence. And then the final sort of bucket of issues, the GCE, GKE issues, there was a merge over the weekend. So this is the very final bullet in that section, merge 68728. Or actually, the PR was being dealt with this weekend, but it merged just this morning, 2 hours ago. They think so what they described for symptoms there almost correlates with some of the things we're seeing for odd stability, instability on tests. And then the first thing in the list there, the issue 68653, the DNS one, with the DNS should provide DNS for external name services. Barney, do you want to make any comments there? So it seems like you're pretty confident if we drop that test just for GKE, things would be in a lot better state.
Right. So, so we were tracking that internally, and the latest is that the test pod is crashing. So, and that's why the test is failing. So this should be unrelated to the Kubernetes functionality. And since that test is passing on GCE, we could make a call telling that that's an acceptable failure for now. We are following up internally, but we just don't want to block at least the 1.12 pulls based on this failure. If you want some comments to go in, we don't want to block them.
So would you be able to make a PR to drop that test then in the GKE runs, or what?
Okay, so I'm not familiar how it works. So when you are ignoring tests, we can come. I don't want to completely drop it. We are anyway going to fix that issue. We're tracking it, but we just want to temporarily drop it. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, so my feeling there would be because some of these GKE related things in particular have been causing tests to be really inconsistent in terms of if we actually drop the test,
Okay.
does that allow things to move a little more efficiently over the next couple of days? But then I would want an issue, either we keep the existing issue 68653 open to address finalizing the situation, re-adding the test, or we
Okay.
create a new issue that says re-add this test. So that way we don't just drop it
Okay.
off and start ignoring it forever.
I
And
see.
I personally would bias towards that path as opposed to us just visually looking at test grid and saying we're going to ignore these bits of red, because that's kind of
Okay, makes sense.
fuzzy.
Yeah.
Tim,
Mhm.
hi, Dims here.
Hey.
Is this a conformance test?
It is not.
Okay, good.
Okay. So yes, I'll work with the test folks here to drop just this test and then track it.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. So with those set of things in flight today, I have a certain amount of confidence, but I'll end up making a kind of subjective call, I think, at the end of day today, Pacific, sort of probably like 5 p.m. If these set of things have merged in and we see a new set of test runs that are looking better, okay, that's one thing. Basically, the scale issue that's remaining. And we'd still have a week of runway on that, so we'll see. Now, the final thing, as Aaron mentioned in the Zoom chat, and it's sort of the final bullet there under the GCE, GKE issues, we have a bunch of, and actually we ought to make this a distinct bullet there. We have a bunch of failures in the upgrades. So SIG release master upgrade tests have all been failing for quite a while. If you tunnel into these, the test results, as I've looked at them, they match up either to the known or expected known storage issues and HPA issues. So I'm relatively hopeful that these are going to clear up with those. They've been really fuzzy because of the GCE GK connection and the HPA stuff and DNS and storage, all of these in flight, but they don't quite feel like a distinct issue. Now, in 24 hours, that may all be proved wrong, and they could truly be a distinct issue. So we'll, again, kind of need to see as the day progresses what happens there.
Tim, is the daemon set or the taint nodes, all of those resolved? Because I wasn't sure if those were the cause for the upgrade test to fail or not.
Yeah, we had the taint node by condition performance stuff had been implicated in that set of things. So that still for me kind of feels like it's not 100% conclusively resolved as distinct from the scale issues and performance issues. There's still this general fuzzy space of things that are supposed to be running aren't always running. And that's whatever, like, I feel like that could be the background issue on the DNS thing also on GKE, that if the pod is crashing, and then that goes back to the horizontal pod autoscaler PR that merged 2 hours ago, that things aren't running that are supposed to be running. So I feel like there's a loose correlation here. It's not the sort of thing that gives me a high level of confidence, but because there's so many variables in play right now, the thing that's going to give me confidence is if we get a set of test runs with the set of changes and they go green. But at least with the current set of trending things for merge expected to go green, it narrows down and we have more conclusive evidence that, okay, this thing remains and needs more dedicated triage. So I'll be watching really closely the test results today and be making that call this evening. So I'm kind of calling the status yellow. It feels better than where we were on Friday, but not super warm and fuzzy happy yet.
Tim, can I say a few things here?
Yeah.
Okay. So one thing I wanted to say was about the core DNS versus kube DNS. So the kube DNS, we don't have manifests for those, and a PR is going in hopefully today, and they'll cut a new set of images with manifests. So that should be done today. But we don't have to wait for that to happen because there is, other than the manifest generation, there is no actual change in code in kubedns. So whatever we ship today will be the same thing. So
And
we don't have to worry about that.
that feels like this is one of multiple symptoms of us not having a really tight understanding broadly of what we ship for artifacts and who consumes them.
Correct.
Kubernetes is available and running in these GKE tests that are failing.
Correct.
So
yes.
they have what they need. Like the
Yes.
dependency chain here is really funky. And then
Yeah.
for the cluster lifecycle consumption of the images, at least they've already moved over to Core DNS. So it's
Right.
I feel like this is a non-112 specific issue. It's the
Correct.
overarching release. We need to do better
Right.
on rel engineering.
I totally get it. That's why I was trying to wrangle all the images this time.
Cool.
So using the manifest as the reason, at least we know that we are able to generate all the images, even if we don't know who actually uploaded them. That's a whole another thread that I CC'd you on. But coming back here, so the other thing I was checking was, is there any PRs to revert for this Core DNS thing? And it doesn't seem like it, because the Kuberium guys already did Core DNS in 1.11.
1.11.
Correct.
Yep, exactly.
So all we need to do is we probably need a release note saying we are having trouble at scale, and to relax the limits for the out of memory errors or something like that. So that is one thing that we could do, just in case people are trying it out, right?
Yep, and Wojtek had agreed to that on the revert commit. So since that merged, it should be there. I need to follow up on that.
Right. So the kubedns is squared away with the PR that'll be merged today, and they'll cut the images, and then we are good there. Then the other one that I was looking at was kubeadm seems to be moving to 1806. They're going to allow 1806 Docker as one of the supported ones. Earlier it was 17 something, 08, I guess. So, but the problem there is people have run CI locally, and it's working. And both the node conformance and the regular conformance tests seem to be running, but we don't have it in our test grid. So that's one question mark I wanted to raise with you and the team here. Is that of concern to us?
I would look to the SIG there to give their guidance.
Yeah, it's tossing up between SIG cluster lifecycle and SIG node. So we might have to drive to a conclusion there.
So is the question that we should include kubeadmin tests in our release blocking dashboard?
Well, first we need to have a test that runs 1806 Docker in our release dashboard, and we don't have it right now. I'm trying to add one, but it's probably going to take all of today to make that happen. But then it has to grow green too, right? Once we add it.
I feel like that's kind of late in the release cycle to make that change, a release blocking change.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if it's green, that's enough for me. I mean, it doesn't have to actually.
Fair.
Yeah. I'm not going to say that it has to pass or anything like that. But what is more worrisome is we don't have CI tests, and we're going to allow 1806.
So who is using 1806?
kubeadm will be supporting 1806.
Okay, well they will support it, but it's not like the Kubernetes project has validated it.
Yeah, there is a PR pending with SIG cluster lifecycle folks. I'm not at my desk right now, so I can't paste you there.
No, that's fine. In that regard, I think I would defer to the judgment of SIG node, and it's not like we necessarily want to prevent SIG cluster lifecycle from saying that they have a tool that stands up a cluster with 1806, but it may not have gone through the same level of rigorous testing that other container engines have, because this change was introduced into the release process a little bit too late for that to happen.
So we don't want to intervene, right? Just let the PR take its course.
Take its course. If it gets green, good for them. If it's red, we're not going to block on it.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. And this is, again, that broader SIG release issue of how do we track and interconnect dependency management and be actually aligned and have solid integration testing that conveys a message to a user.
Okay, then I'll just focus on the PRs and see, whether they get merged or not.
That seems reasonable, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, didn't mean to speak on your behalf, Tim, but I'm assuming that
yeah,
you would say.
You totally agree.
Okay.
Circling back to the core DNS issue, so that revert of core DNS, just to be explicitly clear, right now that feature, let me double check which one we were talking about. Feature 566. That is being dropped, so Docs does need an update for that. Zach had asked. And then I will make sure, I had put a comment and a few other things. I'll make sure that Caitlin knows also that because there was a slight mention somewhere in some of the communications around that feature. All right, issues, go ahead.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I've been typing and not been muted. All right, so let me grab this real quick. So I've been seeing a lot of issues close. 2 of them are genuine fixes, which was great. Then we've had that rollback that you already mentioned. We have 3 issues with pull requests in flight. There's actually only 2 pull requests because the CSI host path test fail and the storage attached controller CRD are related, and they will be closed by the same pull request. And funny, I can't find it right now. That link is broken. I will fix that. I've pinged people and people seem very responsive on both. The first one, the metrics spew, is actually it's kind of a Band-Aid patch. There's also a longer lasting better fix in flight that perhaps the SIG will say, let's keep this one for now and then have the other one for the next release because it'll fix things, but like they're tracking it. So I think that's okay. We have that new issue that you already mentioned on about that's supposed to fix the failing scalability tests. That's about the unable to get full preferred group version resource errors. Then I looked also into failing test bug issues, and my main concern is pull request 676. Sorry, the test issues 67606, and perhaps the CI lead can talk a little bit more about that. I am just really unhappy about the sluggish response on that. It seems to be one person who's working on it, and that person does not really, I just don't get a sense of urgency from that person. And
so this morning I got up too late to catch him. When I first looked, it was already, I think, 11 p.m. his time. So I would like to get an explicit update from him. But looking at the set of issues, he seems to be claiming that, to his knowledge, things are working now.
Right, but they're not. And this has been the same response on the scalability test as well. It's just, oh, it's fixed now. Okay, how, where, why? Perhaps I'm just not understanding enough, but I'm just getting a little bit I don't know, cranky about it.
I'm a little worried here as well, but the symptoms on this one do overlap with the autoscaler issues, and they're furiously working away on things now. So if he's confident his things are fixed, that may have been what caused them to circle back and say, oh wait, maybe we do have an issue, and now they're furiously working too. But this is one of the tricky aspects of the release team. I feel like that we're really dependent on information from people who very often don't record a whole lot in issues. Um, their issue that merged this morning, the scalability or the auto scaling one, like basically said nothing, and it just caught my attention because it mentioned it in that test. So yes, Aaron, dragging folks in. We've had Klaus in on the call, so he's expressing confidence in his side of things.
Will he attend tomorrow's meeting?
Since it's earlier, yes, I will. I'll make
Okay.
sure that I get him for tomorrow's. Yep.
Okay, that would make me feel a lot happier. Also, I just see, yeah, I see a lot of confidence, but not a lot of, backing up by reasoning and explanations. So
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like this is a common engineering
particular
problem.
pull request on this flaky test. Let's see.
People just don't realize enough the extent to which others need to understand what they're doing, and a commit message that says very little. Yeah.
Taint notes by condition, that failing test. Yeah. Basically, that pull request is already has conflicts. So maybe that's because of the thing that merged this morning. I don't know. I didn't dig quite that deep. So for that one, I'm just a little bit worried. Then I have an insider fix that I pinged Aish on. Maybe you can take a look. 66243.
Yeah, I pinged the person. No response yet. It's a little too early. Maybe I'll follow up. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there is a flaky test. Yeah, sorry, and then
So on that one, the 66243, we have the indication from the Google folks that this isn't something that we need to worry about as a blocker. So I'm willing to. I mean, we want to see that resolution happens here, but that one's at least off my blocking radar.
Yep. Right. And then we have 68383, which has a pull request, so I'm not too worried on that one. Then the new test failure this morning that you filed, Tim, there is no pull request, although you seem to have gotten some good response on that. I'm not sure how release blocking that is, because I'm not sure how those tests, the failing tests, relate necessarily. But yeah, I don't know how they relate to.
I would block on that one just because SIG storage has been highly active, merging a lot of features in this release, and their initial thinking is that this is probably a regression in a very recent PR. So I would start by biasing to wanting to see it fixed for the release, unless they come back and say, no, this is a pretty much an outlier and we'll get it in a dot release. But that'd be my thinking initially.
Yep. And that original change actually had to be retested several times. So maybe.
Yeah, I think the thing that was failing felt like our normal unfortunate GKE set of test fails. So this is one of the other big issues that we have when we have things that are this wobbly in the provider. It becomes a secondary risk that people decide, okay, well, this is flaky. That test could surely not be related to what we're seeing here. We're just going to push this in because it's a critical fix. So when we start having CI so unstable that people press the magic merge button, or cause it, there's a way also that tests can be ignored for a given pre-submit. That's a really unhealthy workflow that we're getting into.
Yeah. And then finally, let's see. Finally, I have a flaky test, which actually, once you dig down into that 68653, once you dig down into it, it feels like, it looks like it's related to, wait, no, I'm confusing this. Yeah, there's an open pull request, and it doesn't seem to be, it's okay. Yeah, I need to triage on that pull request. I need to add it to the milestone. And also the pull request is not ready. It's not passing tests. But
So sadly, this is one of the things that gives me a little bit of confidence. Each of these issues feels like it's related to something else we're looking at, and often in a release cycle at this state where you have a whole bunch of worrying things that almost seem interrelated, the magic PR merges that resolves it all. So it's not the sort of thing that I want to depend on for hope, but it is a common pattern in release engineering.
I found it. Here's, I'm gonna link that comment. Just right there. Yeah, it seems related to failing DNS tests, which is, oh no, never mind. This is a loop. This is weird.
There's one that's linking it also to the metric server, which is the stuff that
I
working
see.
on as well.
We don't have an official pull request for this one. Never mind. There is, however, a pull request that is blocked. There we go. I figured it out. My bad. There is no pull request on this flaky test. We don't know why it's currently failing.
Yeah, it's the pull Kubernetes E2E GKE failure it's hitting almost every PR.
Yeah,
right now.
I've seen it a lot.
Yep. Okay. Well, I think that's issue status then. Anything PR wise? I noted a couple PRs that went by there in the notes already.
Yes, I saw that. Wait, where are they? Right there. Yeah, that 68212 is interesting because it looks like automation for kind, and also release note is a little bit non-rigorous right now.
I think that the issue with kind was that the plugin it reacts to events, and the plugin was enabled late in the cycle. So unless there's updates that are relevant, as in like label updates for that specific label, the PR isn't going to be checked again on whether or not it needs.
I see. Okay, so the automation was enabled after the PR was created.
Yes. So next release cycle, we'll have that enabled earlier.
Yeah. Okay.
For now, if there's individual cases, you can try applying like relevant labels or reopening or close and reopen the PR.
And this one, at least, it was one that was intended to merge, so that it came through. It's not like, why is this 113 targeted thing coming in accidentally? So it's one of those things. So even without the infra changes, this is something that we always kind of watch for, because we've also had people that rigorously correctly labeled everything to merge right now when it was intended to merge later. So we are just always sort of a set of eyeballs watching, whether the humans or the automation, watching what's landing in master right now really closely.
Yeah. And then there was a cleanup pull request at the very bottom that I added. And I think the decision 67356, you're on it, Tim. And I think the decision is it's too late right now. And since it's a cleanup, yeah, if they really want to cherry pick it back, they can. That would be my suggestion on that. Am I making sense?
Yep, I'm just quickly scanning. Yeah, I agree that this is too late. I'll just make a comment there.
I can do it. Don't worry. I'll just take it out.
Okay.
I like exercising my milestone clear powers because they feel so awesome.
All the power. All right. Anything else anybody wants to discuss there in terms of the PRs in flight, the issues outstanding, test failures? anybody feel very strongly that we should regardless be making a call now in terms of no-go and delaying the release?
Remind me when code thaw is.
Code thaw is in theory on the
Wednesday, right?
19th, Wednesday, yes.
We're not going to make that.
So I think, yeah, it would make sense to go ahead and make an announcement now that we're not going to thaw. I'm still willing to give the release slip a little bit of a delay. So I was realizing, I think Aish and I were having this discussion late last week. So as we decrease the length of the code freeze, I think we've been approaching it wrong in terms of saying, well, we'll change the start of code freeze depending on CI signal up front. That's certainly one aspect of it, but the other side that's always been in play is when we thaw. And so this seems like a normal case of we're not ready to thaw. And code freezes elongation, I feel like should generally probably be more on the trailing side of things as opposed to moving it around on the front side of things, because people know for sure then where their features are due heading into the release, when stability is due. And ideally that's always just happening because CI signal is always just green, but that side of the equation seems like it should be more fixed. That said, yeah, I think I'll send out an announcement that we aren't going to thaw on Wednesday. I'd hinted at that on Friday in my update for the release.
Yeah. Yeah, I really, I was asking Tim, like, do we really need a week to thaw? What happens around that thawing period? So I was really curious to see what happens once you lift. So maybe delaying that might stabilize things a lot more. So we'll have far fewer things to do during thaw.
Yeah, if we were to unfreeze right now, so much would be coming into master that we would lose all CI signal on the master test grid boards. And we would be down just to the release 112 branch tests and which things are we cherry picking in there. I think right now that creates us extra work and reduces our signal visibility. So my proposition would be that I'll announce delaying thaw until Friday at this point, but TBD still on the release date slipping.
I don't even know if you have to give a date for the thaw right now. Just say we're pushing back thaw. We'll determine it after we get some more signal tomorrow.
Yeah,
And for the record, if thaw is delayed till Friday, I'm going to be out of office Thursday and Friday, so I'll have to have someone else do that if it's going to be then.
Okay, and I think
If it's going to be Friday, then might as well ship on Monday, right?
Yeah.
That would be a lot easier for me at least.
I think the only people who disagree is the people who are itching to get going on 113 dev. But from my perspective, focused on 112, I don't care a whole lot whether we thaw Friday or Monday.
Basically,
focus on stability.
It's because we get 2 extra days where nothing is merging, and we'll and see if the jobs are still green right at that point.
This is also the first time Tide will be handling this level of load, so it might not be best to do that on a Friday.
Yeah, good point.
So my another question is, if we thaw on 24th, which is next Monday, would that still, if we're not delaying the release, just one day of thaw, is that enough? Or what do we expect to happen once?
So my expectation is that right now, while we're still frozen, that the master branch CI is our leading indicator. Each day as we're doing a branch fast forward, we get the secondary confirmation that success has flowed into the release 112 CI boards, and in a deterministic way. We have a set of failures, it stops failing on master, we do the branch fast forward, it stops failing on the release. That is a good level of test confirmation for us. Once we thaw master, that whole first pass goes away, and we only get that second order test. So right now that we have both of those means that we have a good sort of time series of understanding, and we would keep that just through next week. Does that make sense? Am I answering the question?
Yeah, I just wanted to, you did. Yeah, I'll just wrap around my head a little bit.
There was something else I wanted to say with respect to that. Oh yeah, so in terms of the actual release confidence, so this week having master fully stable, if we get everything resolved in master and everything resolved flowed into master 112, at that point I don't feel like it matters. We're cutting the release from the branch. And that's kind of the point where I'm willing to say, like we thought, because master can go off and do its own thing, because now we don't care what destabilizes there. That was the other aspect of that I'd meant to vocalize. We've got to conclusively push all green into the release branch, but as long as we can have master as a leading edge indicator, that helps us get there. But once we're there, master's free to go. All right, and I did see a thumbs up from Sigbeard there. And yeah, it makes sense that would be the intent of the flow. I don't know that this is super well documented in terms of intent, but this is also a kind of normal rel eng flow. Anything else? Anybody else have thoughts on go, no go decisions?
I feel like I should have an opinion about it, but I would very much like to, I don't know. I feel really bad about the scalability failing tests, because even though there's been so much work going into it, it's still not clearing. So
this reminds me, I had wanted to ask Aish, or anybody else. So the last release and the prior release to that, we were in similar sorts of places at times, and part of this is kind of like a relative weighing, like how in trouble are we, and some of that then can be informed by prior similar things. I'm taking some confidence from the extent to which SIG scalability is engaged right now, but I'm curious others' thoughts.
So I can only talk about last release because that's all I have visibility into. We did have the scale test especially failing until the last minute. The only difference was, again, Shyam and Wojtek, if I'm telling his name correctly, they were always on top of things, and they knew why it was failing, and they had fixes that progressively got us a step closer. And eventually, just before RCA something, it was green for a while, and then again started regressing for something else. But that said, Gwen, we always, this keeps happening in scalability, so it's not something, at least with this release. But then the root cause was well understood, and we knew it was not like a product issue that we need to fix.
That's the difference I'm feeling, actually, because it doesn't feel like the root cause is known. So I think at the very least, this is worth having, crisis meeting or something with the scalability folks about.
I did talk one-on-one with Wojtek late last week, and he was really confident. And one of the things that came through in his confidence was he didn't even want to, and I think because of historically we've had these wobbles, he didn't even want to experiment with trying to understand for sure what was going on with the core DNS stuff. It's like, we have this history of problems, we have this instability. Based on our local testing, we're quite confident that this revert will solve things. Let's get the release on a good path with doing that and get it finished off, and then look again into the core DNS issues. So he gave me some confidence there. But then that we have a new issue today is worrying.
Hi. So some perspective. There's only one time I remember in the last 4 or 5 releases where we ended up fighting over is this scalability failure for an SLO? Should we stop the release or not? There's only one time we got to that point. But then almost all releases, like I said, we've had one problem or the other, close to the end. But I have full confidence in Wojtek and Shyam to resolve those things in time. So, kudos to them for keeping us on track.
Yeah, and watch this space, because this is the one thing that really gives me pause on making a call later today, whether or not to go ahead and delay the release is that we've got this new issue. They've done their triage for the day, but have gone to bed. And we won't really get the second order kind of finalization of that triage until tomorrow our time. So if it's the only thing outstanding at the end of the day, I have confidence that they most likely will get it. But if we still have the other things, then the set of problems as a whole says we'll delay.
Historically, I feel like we have had more people actively working on upgrade and downgrade test failures by this point. That's more my point of concern. But I have not done a retrospective in a little bit on our last releases, so that could be useful history.
Yeah, the bits of interaction I've had with cluster lifecycle have given me confidence just lately, but it is fuzzy also, and that the tests have been read for quite a while and haven't moved. But they seem comfortable with their portion of things, and this is something that we should. It's probably more a SIG release thing, but it's going to come to a head, I think, in the 1.13 cycle. Is kubeadm goes GA. So they ended up dropping kubeadm cluster creation and cluster upgrade as GA stable announcements for 1.12. All of these tests that we're looking at are not theirs. So it's stuff that's happening from a directory of scripts that says deprecated maintenance only, is known to be flaky. We don't have data to know how many people use these, how many people are already shifting over early to kubeadm.
I am pounding ground on that as much as I can, for what it's worth.
Okay.
Yeah, because
I feel like we're going to end up.
SIG cluster lifecycle divests themselves very specifically of the cluster kubeup.sh scripts because they do not have kubeadm at the center of them. And so
And that leaves them effectively unmaintained, and us at the end here trying to wave our hands getting help from.
So they are maintained, it just not by the entire Kubernetes community.
Yeah. Yep.
And I would probably characterize it more as propped up rather than maintained. So I completely agree. I'm doing what I can.
I think, unfortunately, this is going to be kind of one of those open sourcey, lazy consensus transitions where in the next 6 months, we're just going to be using kubeadm and those things are going to fall away, as opposed to us getting resolution on how we get better green from them while we're making a clean transition so we have a good A/B test green to green.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
That's why I think that the place to start, who knows where it is on my queue, is to actually clarify what are the criteria for a job to be release blocking. And so these are meeting that criteria if I say the criteria should not be perpetually failing.
Right. One other piece of context here is just the kubeadm itself doesn't actually go start a virtual machine and install the control plane on it, for example, right? That is the problem right now. And so we are hoping that the cluster API stuff will get firmer sooner, so we can replace the Kubernetes anywhere and things like that is there in kubeup. So we'll have something else to fall over from these scripts.
Yeah, that's another big important aspect of it all coming together. And I think that's also part of the SIG cluster lifecycle folks divestiture. They see this forward path, and there's a lot of work to do there, and they are just trying to get that done so we can transition. And I can't blame them. Well, this is rapidly turning into a SIG release meeting. Let's run through the rest of the agenda. I'm going to skip. Well, I guess I'll mention. So it is noted there on features removing 5.6.6, the kubedns core DNS stuff. I will double check with docs and comms that they have heard that message, but I think Zach is here.
I just reverted it.
Okay.
Didn't know if there was any updates that needed to happen from the kubedns side.
Rel notes. Nick, anything you want to say?
No. We switched over to the new document and we're working through it. are encouraging the SIGs to come in and tell us what to keep or delete. So things are going well.
Okay. Comms, I think I do see a few names on. Any updates, anything you need to know? And in particular, can somebody take the message back on the feature 566 core DNS, just doing a quick scrub to see if we have mentions of it anywhere?
Yep, this is Caitlin. I don't believe we mentioned it anywhere, but I will double check on that. What we're planning to do is send out once we start pitching, send out the blog with Kubelet TLS Bootstrap and then Azure Virtual Machine Scale Sets, and then basically just not send the additional notable feature section until we have confirmation that all of those are going to make it in. And then I joined a little bit late, but it did sound like either way, we'll be ready to make a call on potentially delaying by end of day tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I want to give it to you by end of day today.
Okay. Yeah, I think, if there's any chance we're going to slip from a comms perspective, the extra 2 days for us is great. But completely up to you on that.
Yeah, and I know that it feeds into you, but I also feel like this decision, the sooner it happens, the more it becomes an announcement to the broader dev team, like, hey, we have these couple remaining things that we really need some focus pouncing on. So it may be that announcing that improves focus on the last couple things where people have thought they were under control. So I want to make that choice as soon as possible, just to really kind of draw the line and declare the couple things we're trying to finish resolving and get that last bit of focus sooner than later.
Awesome.
All right, thank you. So there's a couple links there regarding 113. Would be useful if folks, if we have a few people who've joined at this point already who are new for 113, just starting to listen in, or folks who are carrying on, I know Aish would appreciate you clicking on those 2 links there. And then I have sent a shout out via Slack to a bunch of individuals for t-shirt sizes. So make sure you get back to me on that. Have a semi-release theme, but definitely a t-shirt theme. So you'll get to see that eventually. And I think that is the end of things. Anything else anybody wants to bring up today?
Release t-shirts are the best. That is all.
I've been having fun in the GIMP and Inkscape and playing around. So hopefully it translates well to a t-shirt and you all like it.
Tim, the only other thing I have is, can we clear PRs that won't go in? There is a few of them.
Yes, I can give a scan through, and I know that Gwen was looking at some of those too. So yep.
If you want to ping me on those that won't go in,
okay,
that'd be helpful. Then we don't. Thank you.
And basically, I think the answer is all of them, unless it's
no.
one of the 3 or 4 things we're talking about really aggressively right now.
The one that I was thinking about kicking out was there is a Bootstrap. There's a new directory called Bootstrap, and it would need a new repository as well. And
Yeah, I think, is that the one you just kicked, Gwen?
I think, yeah, there was a whole repository. The cleanup one?
I don't know if it was cleanup. It was creating a new directory called Bootstrap.
Oh God, I don't remember.
I'm just pulling up 67.356 we were talking about. Yeah, move staging, Bootstrap to staging.
Yes. I just picked it. It's gone.
It's out.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Just looking, Aaron. So, do you wanna talk about anything right now, Aaron?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Thank you all for your time today. We will do this again tomorrow, crack it on. I've pinged Klaus to see if he can come from that side, and I'll also ping the scalability folks to see if we can get them at the end of their day as well. All right. Thank you all. Have a great day.